Hey everybody, Jake here from Clinetimephotography, and welcome back to the channel. So, the 2001 F150 10th gen roof rack build, with of course all the Baja Designs lights. We're going to talk about it all right here, right now. I've super excited for this. Yeah, let's do it. So, I built this rack with basic tools, basically using an angle grinder, a welder, and drill. That was pretty much what I was using most of the time. So it's very obviously very something very kind of easily you can kind of do yourself. Um, Now, nothing as far as I know is available for this truck that serves as a modern rack. There's a couple companies that make some racks, but nothing specifically, I don't think, for this truck. So I basically just kind of took it upon myself to make that possible. So little disclaimer, I am not a professional welder. I am not a fabricator. That is not my trade. This was something I just designed based on my knowledge of building stuff. So if you try to make one of these racks and it fails, or you start drilling into the roof of your truck, or set your truck on fire from welding, it's not my fault. Okay, this is not my trade. This is just something that I just kind of picked up and was able to just build. Now, having said that, so anything I design something for the Ford, I always try and make it better than it was. Trying to really make it for whatever we're going to be using it for, right? So this design I've actually been working on for 2 years. I started off with like making like a tubular rack and bending tubing and stuff like that. I started off with making like a super boxy rack. I started off with a lot of different designs, and so far this I think is the one that I really am super proud of. Um, I really wanted to make it right, essentially. Special thank you to Go Adventure Trek. He has been a huge help in helping me with this rack. He really helped me out with the designing of it, making stuff work, figuring out how we're going to do it, and everything like that. Gave me some pointers and some ideas. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So if you guys can, I'll put a little description or his YouTube or Instagram right here. Go check it out. And he's a super awesome guy, very knowledgeable when it comes to overlanding and this type of stuff. Uh, so I also just wanted to really, as well, while we're talking about this rack, really take the time because, as I said, I've just building, designing it for like the last 2 years about why I did things specifically the way that I did them, and it'll make sense kind of as I go along. So, first thing that we're going to talk about, weight. That was one of the major changes of why I wanted to do this. So I took off the old rack, the ARB steel wire mesh rack, with the supports that I had to make it work for my truck and the other roof mounting plates that I made for it. That rack came in at about 100 pounds. 100 pounds just for the rack. That's not with lights or anything else. So that rack was very heavy, and on top of that, it was obviously a lot higher. Um, with this rack, we were able to really decrease the amount of weight that the rack weighs. This current rack weighs about 46 pounds with the lights and everything on it. So we already right there lost 54 pounds, which is really huge for when you're building a rack like this because you don't want your racks super heavy. You want them to be light. You don't want a whole lot of weight up top. And that really, what that really comes down to is when you're articulating and stuff like that, the more weight that you have up top, it's not good for the truck. So that was something I kind of really learned and really wanted to emphasize when I was building this new rack and make sure I built it right. So let's talk lights. So side lights. I knew I needed more camp lighting. There's been a couple times where we rolled into camp and I just kind of wanted just some more light just so to help us like with setting up and everything like that. So I wanted something kind of along the lines of that, but I didn't want something that was super bright that was going to be just blasting whoever I was parked next to or people like super far away and just be like kind of be like that guy or so to speak. So I just wanted some more camp lighting. So some other stuff. I still wanted to keep my 45s that you guys all know I love. But I also wanted, when we were for our off-road lighting, some spot lightings that kind of went a little bit further out. Um, So we ended up using the Baja Designs S2 work scene lights with their really cool redesigned lens, their clear lens, and that worked great. I think for camp light, it puts out a ton of light. It puts out light absolutely everywhere, and exactly like what I wanted. Not super far, just in our just surrounding area and everything like that. Um, so and then for the so yeah, we use that for the rear lights on the rack. I also knew that when I was building this rack that I wanted to use flush mount lights. I've always liked the design of flush mount lights. I just like how they just look really clean and everything like that. But the one thing with flush mount lights is that you have to make sure when you're building a rack like this that the flush mount lights and the lights themselves are to the outside of the truck as they can possibly be. So like, and so here you see that this is basically where the door basically comes to the cab. And then basically I wanted to make sure that the light was basically to the outside as it can possibly be. So that way it's not being blocked by the roof line or anything else like that. For the front lights, I wanted to, again, we talked about a little bit more lighting off to the side. So what I did was I used, same thing, flush mounts. I used Baja Design's S2 wide cornering slash spot lens. So this is a dual purpose lens. Um, I chose them because like I said, I wanted the best of both worlds for side lighting. I wanted something that put out a lot of light for off-roading, but also projected the light out a little far too. Um, and then for the 45s, we use the S1s that I've been using on the ARB rack. I was using those on there with a clear wide cornering lens. Um, Now this is actually one of the cool things. As far as I know, I've looked at a bunch of different racks and designs and stuff like that. This is one of the very few racks that I know of that actually has the cutouts for 45s. Most racks, usually it's either they have the side lights or the front lights, and then that's basically it. They typically don't have mounts or any ways of mounting like slots and stuff like that, specifically for 45-degree lights, as of right now. So what was really cool is that this actually, by implementing all these lights and all these different ways, I was able to achieve complete front 180-degree illumination. So basically, I have lighting all the way completely in front of me, and it's just absolutely awesome, especially for off-roading, especially for camping. It's it's a really great setup. So for the front, we use none other than our Baja Designs 8XL linkables. These lights worked out absolutely tremendous. Um, they put out more light than I could ever need. I want to say they're like about 20,000 lumens or something crazy like that. So they put out a ton of light. The other thing that I talked about in one of my other videos on off-road lighting is that you can adjust each light individually. One thing you guys all know is I'm not a big fan of light bars really anymore because light bars typically they go up and down, and that's it. There's not a whole lot of adjustment on them. These, you can adjust each individual light and really just kind of hone them in exactly where you want them. And then on top of that, what I opted to do was instead of leaving the Baja Designs linkables, they have this option. You can just push them out like this and then basically take your lighting and make it more widespread as opposed to centrally focused, if that makes sense. So that worked out amazingly. All right, so construction. So let's talk about the side plates first. So the side plates of the rack are made out of 3/16 steel. Um, as far as the side plates go, those were probably one of the hardest things about this whole project was trying to match the contour of the roof onto a piece of metal. I probably went through about 30 templates of just tracing and just really trying to just match the line off the roof of the truck, and it took a while. It was definitely very frustrating at times. Spent definitely a few hours on it for sure, but in the end, it actually did come out very nice, and I'm very happy with how it came out. Um, So let's talk about roof mounting plates. So basically the roof mounting plates, these are basically critical points for this rack because basically they take the weight of whatever you put on top of the rack and evenly distribute it across the truck so you don't bend the roof. Um, I basically just had to work with the holes that were already in the roof, which was kind of nice because the holes, luckily for me, were from my previous racks, were already kind of more towards the outside, which is kind of where you want your holes of your racks to be. So that way it's more towards the exterior, because the more interior you go on your roof, the less supports and stuff you have there. So you try and keep the holes more towards the exterior. That's where all your support is, essentially. Let's see here. Um, Also, why I made my mounting plates really wide was so that way it evenly distributes the weight better. If you basically take all that weight and then you put it on a small plate that's this big, that plate's just going to sink into the roof and start bending your roof. But if you distribute it over a wider area, then it's not going to hopefully like bend in your roof that much. And the other idea behind this as well is I really wanted to make sure that I didn't put anything heavy anymore on top of the roof. That was one of the main focuses. Let's see. All right, so for mounting on the underside of the roof plates, I use a 1/4 inch thick rubber mat I found at a local hardware store. Basically, this helps with vibration because if you have metal on metal, you're going to have a lot of vibrating, and the rack's going to vibrate, especially with wind and everything like that. It's going to move around and vibrate. The rubber, basically, my thought process was really helps with that. Also, kind of helps with noise and stuff too, and also adds a layer of weather protection for the holes that are going through your roof. Then basically I took the same concept and then support plates on the inside of the cab with rubber mats also, and then basically ran a 1/2 inch stainless steel bolt through both of them, and then with washers, lock nuts, and then I siliconed the tops to make sure no water would get through. That I used the same exact kind of setup for my previous rack, and it worked really good. So I basically just kind of honed it and just kind of kept with that same kind of concept, and then I just used that for this rack, and it seems like it's working out really good. Gussets. So these are made same thing, 3/16 steel. These function as basically horizontal supports for the side plates and help with any type of swing the truck might be doing. So the rack's on top of the truck. The truck's going to be off-road and you're going to be swaying it from side to side. So what you don't want to have happen is, like, let's say these are the side plates and let's say these are the mounting plates. You don't want them to just go like this and just bend over and collapse, or either way. So basically what you do is you put a gusset plate here, and that basically adds as a support for your side plates. The aluminum trusses. I'm sure a lot of you are very curious about where I got those from. They're from a company called 8020, and these are their 30 series. Um, I basically just kind of went with one of the more heavier duty ones that they had. The 30 series seems, I think, I don't remember exactly how much weight they support, but as of right now, I can walk on the supports and they're super solid. So if it can support me, it should be able to support any gear that I have up there, which again, I'm not going to be fully putting anything heavy up top. So again, I can stand on them. I don't remember exactly what the amount of weight that they can support, but I know they can at least support my weight. So yeah. So with the company, you have the option to tap the ends of the trusses from the company when you order them. I just decided to tap them myself. I ended up doing a 3/8 tap it was, and then on the side plates, I basically just matched them up to the side plates and then bolted them with a 3/8 bolt, split lock washer, and then a washer, and then use obviously the nice Allen head stainless steel Allen head bolts, because that way it just really kind of matches all the other bolts and everything on the truck. So basically, and the trusses are aluminum, so they're super light. I want to say they weigh like 5 pounds each. They're very, very light. The trusses basically allowed for easy hard mounting of anything on top of the racks. Basically, with my previous rack, mounting stuff was a little bit of a pain. That was one of the other reasons why I went with this design. I was mounting everything with bungee cords and trying to figure out really weird ways to mount stuff, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. So with this, basically you just take a carriage bolt, you shave the sides, and then you just slip the carriage bolt into the trusses, and then you just bolt everything down through the carriage bolt. And it works out really good, makes for a nice, easy clean. I don't like using bungee cords. I've never had a problem with using bungee cords, but I just would rather secure something a little bit more sturdier if I can. And then so far, those have been working out really well. Okay, so paint. I went to a company called Precision Powder Coating. They're located locally here in San Bernardino. And I had them powder coated satin black to match the rest of the additions on the truck. I didn't want to deal with spray paint and then having it rust and then having to do like touch-ups on the racks and stuff later. And I didn't want to deal with any of that. So I just basically put the rack together, made sure everything fit, and then just basically sent it off to powder coating and put it back together. And came out awesome, 100%. Really, really enjoyed it, really liked it. The one thing I will say though with the powder coating, and this was on me 100%, and I wish I would have figured this out, but this is the first time I've really built something like this and sent it off to powder coating. Powder coating is still kind of a new process to me. Is that I wish I would have took a very fine flap disc and flap disc like the exterior of my welds, because I didn't realize that when you weld something on this side, you can actually sometimes see it on the plate on this side. So you can see a little bit of that. But again, I'm super happy with the rack. It came out great. Equipment mounting. So the one thing I really wanted to make sure I wanted to do was make sure I can mount all my equipment up there and have it perform the way that I want it to. So I took some measurements and I was able to do one-sided traction board mounting, which you actually really don't see a whole lot of. Personally, I don't like I've had my traction boards, like if this is my rack, this is the front of the truck. I don't like having my traction boards mounted this way because you have to get up on the truck, undo the mounts on this side, go around and undo the mounts on that side. I'd rather just have the traction boards be on one side, driver side, or one side, passenger side. So that was something else I really, really wanted. So I was able to make that happen with this rack. My traction boards are now mounted on one side. And then the other thing I was able to do as well was take my high lift jack, and instead of it hanging off the side of my rack like it was before with the ARB rack, it is now on top of my rack. And I actually gained some space with this rack as well, as far as space for mounting stuff and what I can put up there. All right, so the old rack was 46 by 52 inches. But really only 48 by 40 inches of like usable space because it had that bar that goes all the way around the top of the rack. And on top of that, there's a plate up front. I think that's a foot deep that you can't really mount anything to. So you had a lot of very limited space up there. With this rack though, it is 51 3/4 inches by 43 inches. So there's a ton more usable space on this now, which is really nice because as we know, the space fills up really quickly when we're talking about off-roading and overlanding and stuff. We're constantly throwing stuff on top of our vehicles. So having that extra space is definitely really, really nice. All in all, so far though, that's it for the equipment mounting and everything on there. But all in all, it's been a tremendous improvement. The lights, having the Baja Designs lights has been really incredible. The design, everything like that's worked out really, really well. I'm really proud and really happy of the design. We will be obviously doing the back rack over the shell with the same exact concept. Um, that back rack on the shell probably weighs excess of 100 pounds if that front one did. I'm guessing it probably weighs about 120 pounds. That's a lot of weight over that shell, so we're planning on doing the rear very soon. I will still figuring out the design for that one. It'll be up and coming here probably in the next couple months, but obviously we're going to make it try and match the front. But stay tuned for that. Again, I always try and keep the people on YouTube kind of give you guys little hints and sneak peeks of everything. So that will be coming up as the rear portion of the rack will be getting done hopefully very shortly. But again, hopefully you guys are all doing okay with the COVID and everything like that. And then, yeah, stay tuned for the next adventure. See you later.